You are Locked On Braves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, your team every day.
And hello and welcome into the Braves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. Grant McAuley, Jake Mastroianni with you after an exciting night for the Atlanta Braves. A win they very much needed to avoid a sweep against the LA Dodgers, and they get it in walk-off fashion, 4-3, to salvage the finale of this three-game series. We got a lot to talk about on this edition of the POSTCAST. The great pitching from Bryce Elder, who was able to face a very tough lineup and limit them. Some key hits and moments for the Braves offense, which is, of course, good to see. A couple of Braves hitters in particular who might be figuring a couple things out at the plate. We'll talk all about that. And, of course, get you set up for a four-game series as the homestand continues and the Philadelphia Phillies roll into Truist Park on Thursday. Before we get started, I want to remind you to subscribe on YouTube to Locked On Sports Atlanta. Enable the notifications, hit the bell so that you get notified every time we drop a new episode. Go ahead, hit that like button. A walk-off win deserves a like. Go ahead and do it. Shameless plug, shameless request, but we appreciate it all the same. And if you like the show, please be sure to tell a friend and make sure you subscribe to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcast. Jake, as we were talking momentarily just before we jumped on here, it doesn't really matter how it happens. The Braves just needed a win to happen on Wednesday.
Yeah, again, with the way the week has gone, you just needed a win any which way you could get it. Maybe still wasn't their best performance of the year, but hey, at the end of the game, they had more runs than the other team. And Grant, when you do that, good things happen.
I've heard that column is the most important column on a daily basis, that column being the run column. And the Braves did get the best of the Dodgers finally in one of these three games. It was game number 49 of the year for the Braves as we jump inside the line score and the box score for this one. Dodgers with a loss dropped to 31-20. 3 runs on 12 hits, no errors. They left 10 men on base. Braves, meanwhile, 30-19. 4 runs on just 5 hits, no errors, and 3 men left aboard for the Braves, who got the home run ball working to help them to at least get the offense jump-started a bit during this game. We'll talk about some key home runs in a moment. Bryce Elder pitched a scoreless ninth inning. He picks up the win as the Braves walk it off, courtesy of Ozzie Albies. Phil Bickford was on the mound for the Dodgers, takes a loss, drops to 1-2. Game lasted 2 hours, 42 minutes, 37,838 paid to see it at Truist Park. And, Jake, I would say that they saw a good one in this game. It was more of the evenly matched back-and-forth battle. We had 2 pitchers on the mound that aren't really known for lighting up the radar guns, maybe like Spencer Strider and Bobby Miller were in the middle contest. But Bryce Elder, able to kind of do the thing that he's done in every start this year, pitch around the strike zone, limit the hard contact, at least allowing it to find any homes out into the outfield grass, and keep the Dodgers off balance to navigate his way through 6 innings in this one. And, of course, Tony Gonsolin, he's been known to do that thing as well. He had a nice scoreless inning streak that the Braves snapped in this game.
Yeah, I think you're right on with the contrast between what we saw in Tuesday's game and Wednesday's game. Very different styles between these two pitchers. Because you look at Tony Gonsolin's analytics and you're thinking, how does this guy have a sub-2 ERA? And I think you could probably do the same with Bryce Elder. But the key for both those guys is I think they know how to pitch. They know how to manipulate the baseball and create weak contact. And you look at what Bryce Elder did in this game, what he's done a lot this year. And really, since he came back up at the end of last year, he gave up a lot of contact. He gave up 7 hits, but 1 extra base hit. And I think that's the key with somebody like Bryce Elder. He's going to give up his hits, but most of the time he's going to limit them to single bases. And that's exactly what he was able to do in this game. And it's why he was able to hold down that Dodgers offense. So that's key for him. Obviously only the 1 walk as well. If you're going to give up those singles, but you're going to compound it with walks and hit batters, that's when you're going to get into a lot of trouble. But when you're throwing strikes, you're not walking batters, you can deal with a single here or there. Braves got some big double plays. This time they were turning them in this game to help them get out of some jams as well. So that was nice. So, just Elder, what he's done all year long. And, I mean, the guy had 2.01 ERA. I don't know at what point we start actually looking at him as maybe somewhat of a Cy Young candidate. I know he doesn't have those dominating type numbers, but that ERA, it looks pretty good.
Well, at the very least, maybe he'll get a little all-star consideration. Who knows? There's a long way to go until the Cy Young voting begins. And, of course, we know Zach Gallen will be keeping score of that, but that's a different story for a different time. But, yeah, you're right about the Braves' defense in this game. There was a beautiful 6-4-3 double play up the middle, started by Arcia to Ozzie Albies over to Matt Olson to help get Bryce Elder out of, I believe it was a 4th-inning jam. And you brought up, the hits that were given up early on. There were 2 hits a frame, basically, for Bryce Elder as he was working out of trouble each one of the first 3 innings. The 7th and final hit he gave up, of course, was the Mookie Betts home run, but he did a really nice job, and the Braves defense came to play tonight. not only with Arcia making that great grab, but Austin Riley had himself, I thought, one of his best nights of the season. And no, he didn't hit a 480-foot home run in this game, but he was swinging the bat extremely well. A couple of doubles for him, scored the game-winning run, and he was flashing the leather at third base in support of Bryce Elder tonight.
Yeah, and again, I talked about it on the podcast Wednesday. The Braves defense has statistically at least been one of the worst in all of baseball this year. And I said it at the end of yesterday's postcast, if they were going to win this game, defense had to be on their toes behind Bryce Elder. So it was great to see them step up to the plate, after a rough night on Tuesday, to really back him up with some good plays behind him. You need that with a Bryce Elder type pitcher out there, because like I said, he is going to give up a lot of contact, and it's going to be a lot of weak contact. You need to be able to make those plays behind him. And fortunately, they were able to do it on this night.
Yeah, no, they were able to make all the plays that they needed to. Of course, the 0 in the error column tells you that things probably went all right, but we saw more than okay glove play against the Dodgers in Game 3 of the series. For Elder, final line, 6 innings, 7 hits to 1 run on the solo home run, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. You look at the hits, okay, well, the Dodgers were able to put the bat on the ball, but I think with this lineup, we'd expect them to do that. But I look at that walk column, and that tells me that Bryce Elder did not compound matters and make things any worse. I know he hit a batter as well, but not really handing out a couple of free passes to start an inning and then really putting himself on the ropes where a single here or there really could hurt you and allow the Dodgers offense to get rolling. I thought Bryce was able to do a very nice job. 101 pitches, 66 strikes for him. Then in giving way to the Atlanta bullpen, things were going pretty well thanks to a go-ahead 2-run homer by Marcell Ozuna. We'll get to some of his exploits and, of course, how the Braves won this thing eventually. And, a home run that Matt Olson hit that may not have landed. But the Braves bullpen did kind of do the bend but don't break thing. Nick Anderson ran into trouble in the 8th inning, couple of runs allowed. Miguel Vargas was the man who tied it up for the Dodgers. No, it wasn't Freddie Freeman. It wasn't Mookie Betts. It wasn't Chris Taylor. It wasn't Max Muncy. I could go on and on. It was Miguel Vargas with a double down the left field line that had a 110 expected batting average. Jake, I know we talk a little bit about these stats and how unlucky sometimes pitchers can be, or just how lucky the other team was just as far as the batted ball is concerned. I mean, you got to put the bat on it to give yourself a chance. But those are the kind of things that once they start to happen, you start thinking, oh my goodness, here we go again.
Yeah, frustrating one for Nick Anderson. And look, it's tough out of the bullpen, and we've been, kind of slow to be concerned about them, and rightfully so, because the guys have gotten it done. But now you kind of look at it and it's like, who do you really trust? I mean, Jesse Chavez is coming out in the 7th inning in a 3-1 game for you right now. I think that tells you the level of trust that Snicker has with some of those guys out there in that bullpen. Nick Anderson's been great all year long. A little bit of a rough one for him here, but that pitch to Miguel Vargas is a foot inside, and he's able to get the bat on it. And for a double, I mean, that's just, I don't know, you tip your cap. I don't know what you do there, but you get frustrated. I know that, because, I mean, he makes a pitch way inside, and he's somehow able to get a barrel on it and 77-mile-per-hour double. That kind of stuff will happen to you. He put himself in a jam before that, as well, to put him in that situation. But the bullpen, it's a bit questionable right now when arms come out. Now, Iglesias, he put himself in a little bit of trouble as well, but I am still feeling much better about him at this point, and glad to see him be able to get out of that jam in the 9th inning.
Yeah, a little pop fly that fell out there. Eddie Rosario coming full steam, but, at that point, you kind of are making sure that nothing gets over your head that allows Freddie Freeman to make his way around and score. But, regardless, Iglesias was able to work out of trouble, and, of course, the Braves were able to walk it off in the bottom half of that frame. We'll continue on talking about what the Braves offense was doing on this night after I tell you about one of our great sponsors, because this episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs, the most comfortable, functional, versatile shorts you'll ever find. They feel great. They fit great. You got to try these out and find out for yourself. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB. Enter the promo code LockedOnMLB. They'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti-style tumbler with every order. Again, that's birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB, promo code LockedOnMLB. Braves batting in this one. Key hits from guys that you might started to expect some things like this in the month of May, I think, from Marcell Ozuna. But before we got there, the early run that went on the board was a titanic home run by Matt Olson. It broke up Tony Gonsolin's no-no, and it landed on the roof of the Chop House 456 feet away. Jake, you don't see too many land up there.
No, and Matt Olson definitely can do it. I think when the Braves traded for him, a lot of people were talking about the fact he could go on top of that Chop House several times. So he has that type of power, but just good to see, him get a big swing like that for the Braves. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but Austin Riley had the hardest hit ball of the night as well. Those two had the 2 hardest hit balls of the night. And so, again, we've been talking about it, I think, for a week now, where we're starting to see signs of these guys coming out of it. And obviously would be great. I know Matt Olson, tough night the night before, but he's been better over the last week or so. Riley has now had a couple of really good swings that he's been able to go down and get the ball and drive it into the left field gap. So I think very good, encouraging signs for both of those guys.
Yeah, no, great to see that. And now, of course, Marcell Ozuna able to do something again in the month of May that if you look back to this time about a month ago, you'd be wondering if we had a misprint in how this game was like written out, because go ahead 2-run homer by who? Marcell's his 7th home run of this month, 9th of the year, 2-run blast to put the Braves on top in the bottom of the 5th inning. He did, of course, catch Will Smith on the backswing because Smith kind of jumped up, I think, to get out of his crouch real quick. But Marcell didn't spend too much time lingering at home plate. He instead was able to enjoy a leisurely stroll around the bases. Braves went up 3-1. Again, the Dodgers tied it in the 8th with their 2 runs. That set up the 9th inning, and we saw Austin Riley, you alluded to it, hardest hit ball of the night, a bullet double to put himself in scoring position to start that frame, able to get over to third base thanks to a very nice job by Travis d'Arnaud to put the ball in play to the right side. Intentional walk to Dodgers killer Eddie Rosario, and that set up Ozzie Albies for the sac fly to bring home Austin Riley for a very much needed 4-3 victory over the Dodgers to avoid the sweep, kind of get the momentum back at least a little bit, and you never want to get swept. You never want to lose, for that matter. You certainly don't want to lose 3 times in a row, and you don't want to be doing that at home with a big 4-game series against a division rival looming. So a lot of good things happened with that 9th inning. Austin Riley, though, let's talk a little bit about what he's been doing lately. 2 for 4 here tonight, batting .342 in his last 10 games with 6 extra base hits, I think. And I wrote about this some as well. Austin Riley seems to have been putting all that hard work into practice here at the plate, and it looks like he's starting to come out of that swoon that he was in for 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, and I mentioned, the fact that those pitches down and in, he's able to get under those baseballs now. We've seen it several times over the last, as you said, 10 days now, I think, where that's the area that was really giving him troubles when he was in that slump. He was topping all those balls, grounding out on those pitches down and in, and now we're starting to see him be able to get the lift on those balls, to drive it into the left center field gap, drive it into the left field corner. And, that's Austin Riley. When he's going well, he's going to be able to drive those balls, because before he was hitting him hard, but it was kind of like Acuna last year. He wasn't getting that launch angle in the right spot, and he just kept grounding out to the left side.
Yeah.
When he's going, you're seeing him drive the ball into that left center field. And like I said, left field corner gap. So it's great to see. Again, I think he is coming out of it. And again, I think we've alluded to it over the last week or so, that there's just been these little signs, and I don't want to say he's fully out of it yet, because I really don't want to jinx it. But again, you just mentioned the numbers over the last 10 games. He's hit more like Austin Riley, and couldn't come at a better time for the Braves right now. Hopefully get going here.
Now, let me assure you, you can't jinx it by tweeting about it. I don't think you can jinx it by talking about it on the show, because the hopes are that Austin Riley has broken out of this. You raise your batting average, 22 points over the last, 10 or so days. And over that 10-day span, OPSing about 900 as well. He's got those extra base hits going. Haven't seen the home runs just yet, but that line drive double to left looked awfully familiar from the 2021 NLCS when Austin Riley was up to some good things for the Braves against that very same Dodgers team. Speaking of somebody up to something good late in this game, 8th inning, it happened for Michael Harris. He broke his hitless streak at 24 at-bats with a single to left. Chipper Jones had been talking about this earlier in the day. I know Mark Bowman of MLB.com tweeted it. Just start hitting some line drives at shortstop. I joked a little bit about this. That sounds awfully lot like the Freddie Freeman batting practice approach, and it certainly translates in the game. So if Michael Harris wants to steal a little page out of a book that may have come from Chipper that was passed down to Freddie that now ends up with Michael Harris, that could be the start of something good for this kid, or at the very least, just getting the monkey off his back, getting back out there on base with a swing that actually finds some green out in the outfield.
Yeah, I said it on here before, and it's cliche to say, but when Michael Harris is going good, he's driving the ball the other way. And I think you can say that just about all hitters. But for Harris, I think that's definitely true, because that's what we saw for him last year when I did my deep dive on him earlier in the week. That's kind of what I alluded to. He's still hitting the ball the other way. It's just a lot of pop-ups the other way, not a lot of line drives. And that's what Chipper Jones was talking about in that interview, is trying to get him to hit it through the shortstop, hit those line drives the other way. So when he gets to doing that, like I said, I think he's going to take off. I think I think it's going to come, and I think it's going to come pretty
Yep.
soon. I think Michael Harris is going to break out of this, and we're going to see him go on a really good run and start helping this Braves team out offensively and become that dynamic force that he was last season.
Yeah, and I'll give you a really scientific reason why I think it's going to happen, and that's because he's too good for it to keep going the way it's been going. I think that can be said for Austin Riley, for Matt Olson. I mean, the Braves have a very talented lineup. It does not make them immune to slumps and cold spells and the adjustments that go on that you have to make inside of a game and, of course, inside of a long season as well. And hopefully Michael's on the road to racking up a few more of those base hits so he can forget all about the 0 for 24 that he was riding into the 8th inning on Wednesday's game. We got to get you set for the 4-game series against the Phillies. Before we do, though, I need to let you know that this episode is brought to you by Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Stop throwing money away, cancel those unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/lockedonmlb. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedonmlb. Get started on that today. Braves, meanwhile, will be in action on Thursday. I can confirm all the reports. There is no bullpen game scheduled for Thursday. The bullpen may have to work, but Dylan Dodd, a starting pitcher, is going to be called up from Gwinnett to start this game. I think that's a relief for the bullpen. It's probably a relief for Braves fans, the team, just about everybody on the Braves side of things, is those bullpen games have been an incredible tax. And not only have they not resulted in some wins, though there have been some various factors in it, it's just something that's not sustainable. So Dylan Dodd, 2-1 on the year in his time with Atlanta. He will be facing the righty Aaron Nola. The Braves know him very well. He's 4-3 on the year. Phillies roll into town. Should be fun to see these NL East rivals go at it for the first time this year.
Yeah, both teams coming off walk-offs as well on Wednesday. So both of them coming in kind of on a high note. But we talked about the struggles of the bullpen right now. And I think part of it is the fact that a lot's been asked of them early on with all these bullpen games. With, early in the season, they had these young starters not going deep into games. So I think that's part of it. That's why, I'm glad to see Dylan Dodd come up here. Maybe he only goes 3 or 4 innings, but still want to see him get that opportunity. And, it seemed like everything was pointing to this. He wasn't obviously on the list for Gwinnett starters this week. This is on his regular rest day. So made a lot of sense. It kind of seemed like this is the way things were going. We'll see what the move is, who's going to get removed out of the bullpen for him. I'm sure they'll announce that on Thursday morning sometime. But good to see Dylan get another opportunity. Hopefully he can learn from what he has done earlier in the year, kind of like Jared Schuster. And Dylan Dodd had a pretty solid start his last time out, a quality start, if I remember correctly. So again, hopefully we see good things from him, get this division series off on the right foot.
Yeah, quality start from Dylan Dodd against Miami in his last big league appearance. He's taken some lumps down in AAA, but I think Brian Snitker has said this, and it's just worth throwing out there. And I think we're all kind of in this boat. If you could just get 4 or 5 innings out of these guys, you can help at least bridge the gap, because the problem with the bullpen games has been the Braves don't have that guy that can come in and throw 4 or 5 innings in relief for you. I think that they stretched a couple of guys out beyond their means, and it may have, adversely affected some performance. It may have landed Dylan Lee on the injured list. I mean, there's just a lot of things that haven't gone right in these bullpen games, to put it lightly. So it's good to see a starter called upon to jump into rotation. I don't want to get into a long discussion here, but I think we've all seen over the last 24 hours, Michael Soroka at 96 pitches. I asked Brian Snitker before this game, what else, if anything, do you need to see that indicates that Soroka is ready to rejoin the big league rotation? He said, look, we needed to see him get to 100 pitches or close to it to be able to cover the innings that we're going to need from him. And it looks like he's doing that. Alex Anthopoulos was at that start in Gwinnett to watch it. I can promise you, if Alex is going to watch something, there's a very good reason for that. So hopefully, knock on wood, Michael Soroka has an opportunity soon to perhaps help the Braves out in rotation. But it's Dylan Dodd, Aaron Nola, game 1 of a 4-game series on Thursday at Truist Park against the Philadelphia Phillies. 7:20 p.m. Eastern time is that first pitch. Braves, though, able to walk it off against the LA Dodgers to close out this series with a 4-3 win. And we appreciate you joining us and letting us tell you all about it here on the Braves Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, hit the bell to get notified every time we drop a new episode, and make sure you hit that like button. We really appreciate that. And if you enjoy the show, tell a friend, and make sure to subscribe to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcasts. You'll get the Postcast and all the other great content Jake has for you year-round. That's Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcast. Once again, the Braves 4-3 winners on Wednesday. They start a 4-game set with the Phillies on Thursday, and we'll be back throughout the weekend to talk to you all about it. He's Jake Mastroianni. I'm Grant McAuley. We'll catch you next time. So long, everyone.